Hello, welcome to another night of coding adventures. So, what are we going to do is today, text editor is starting right now, so for the option. What we are going to do today is pretty simple. We're going to apply our animations as we did yesterday, and the bandit is going to come and kill this farmer. We're going to display a splatter effect. And then when the splatter effect is displayed, the farmer is going to die in the scene. And then we will program the bandit so he has this very simple script for the player, that the player can attack the bandit and actually have his first enemy that he can kill. And what we have to set up for this is, first of all, with the scene, we have all the animations set up for the scene. But what we now want to do is we want to make a plan. So what is going to happen here? With a farmer and a bandit, don't need the gunner. We are only using this gunner here as a template for what we might want to do. So we, because I've already worked a lot of a long time on the gunner and know him inside out. That's why I often look into the gunner who's done very well. And I often look into the gunner if I just want to steal some functions and copy and paste it later. But now we don't need the gunner anymore, because we've looked up how he works and what we need from him for our animations and for our setup. So we can delete this game object. We don't need that. So let's start by looking what's going to happen. So the player is going to jump down this path here, and he will be able to see this farmer immediately, and this farmer is going to to say something to the player. You will have a dialogue. There will be a dialogue popping up, which will be with subtitles in English and in German. You have to set up both of them, and then when the farmer is finished with his dialogue, this bandit is going to come from behind and kill this farmer. Actually, we want this bandit to interrupt the farmer, so we have to time this. And if the player skips the dialogue, the farmer has to lay dead on the floor, because then he will skip the scene. So the entire scene should also be skippable. So if you're coming to this area later on in the game, and you've already played through the game and don't want to see the scene, you just play enter, 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 and you should be able to start immediately with what you want to do next. You don't want to have the scene playing every time. So we don't want to have too much repetition. When the player comes to this area later, something has to change to make this interesting. But for now, let's focus on triggering this event. So this event is triggered when the player jumps down this path. There's no other way the player can actually come to this area. So he's most certainly going to come through this path here. So let's see. There must be trigger zone here. I think I've set it up. Yeah, it's under trigger zones. I've disabled them for testing so far, but now we actually have to set them up. So this is a trigger zone which is going to trigger the scene. This is a trigger zone that is going to trigger the scene. So what's going to happen is the player enters this collider here, this box collider, and as soon as he crosses this path here, he's going to trigger the scene. And I see I have to edit the stream for a moment because the progress bar, with my little goal of 100 English streams, it's actually at 11, not at 10. Let me add 1. Okay, so we're going to cross this top path, and then we have a dialogue trigger here. This is going to trigger. This points to a dialogue. So what's going to happen? Want to face left. The player is going to jump down, and a dialogue will trigger. Let's look into this script. So this script on trigger enter checks if the name of our character is on the game object, and then the script will trigger a dialogue with a given dialogue box. This will also set our velocity into the x direction to 0, so the character will not go any further back or forth. So no flying forward, accidentally landing on top of the farmer, which is good. And then we have an option that tells us we can flip the player. The farmer would be standing at this position. We want the player to face him. Then we actually would want to flip the player and look into this direction. Let's do this for the other direction too. There's something missing here. And
Trolley. Moin hype shock hype shock.
Hi Trolley, what's up? How are you doing? Nice to see you around. And thank you for the follow. So, how come you have seen that I'm streaming? Discord. Oh, only English here. Yeah, I'm making an English challenge. So I need to speak English in my job, as you can imagine, as a computer scientist. So I'm speaking English so that I can just practice a lot, and I just love practicing English, and it's actually very useful. But if you want to speak German, speak German. I don't care. I can speak both languages. You can imagine. My English is bad. Can you understand me? Hey Trolley, practice time. You get some practice. Yeah, you can understand. Nice. So, you know, practice makes perfect. So what I'm doing here, I'm still working on a scene. So we're going to trigger a dialogue. Going to be in this box. And this dialogue has a target. Going to be the guy who's actually speaking. So we want this farmer here to be triggered in this dialogue. We want the camera, here's a camera target, to zoom in on this guy. And we also want the farmer to speak. So we have set up all the animations for this. We still have not inserted them inside of the farmer animator. So let's do that. An animator here. You can see all these boxes here. These are different animations for idle, speaking, speak idle when his mouth is shut, attack, and death. So this is the bandit. Let's start with the farmer. Also idle, speak idle, and then he has 2 death animation phases. So when he's going to start, it's going to start with this idle animation. Then we want to make a transition. Not from the entry point though. So entry is, we are going to start with the idle animation. Then we want to have functions to go into every state, make a transition into each state. This is actually how this is a programming style approach. Normally, a lot of programmers would drag a line from the idle state to each other state, which is also has also some benefits, especially for the way we are doing it. And actually, I've forgotten something. We want to add a layer now. We want to add a layer only for his mouth control, mouth layer. Now we have a base layer and we have a mouth layer. The base layer is going to control the character as a whole. The mouth layer is only going to open and close his mouth. Let's delete those two boxes here. They are going to be mouth animations. Create two new states. One is speak idle. The other is speak. Make sure that we also insert the emotion. This. Let's see what we can find. Farmer speak. Yes, we can. Okay. So this is the entry point. We are going to enter with speak idle. His mouth, speak idle is his mouth is shut off. So close mouth. And in any state we want, if we trigger speak or speak idle, we want to be able to go into each state. So now we have two transitions, but we don't know yet how we are when we are supposed to go into these states. And we also did not set up any rules yet. So the normal rules is that the animations have a transition time, but this is more something for 3D animations. We don't want in transition. We want to go immediately into the next emotion, and then we can add parameters. Now let's add two triggers. One is speak idle, and one is speak. So if you want to go into the speak animation, we want to trigger speak. And if you want to go into speak idle, we want to trigger speak idle. Now how are we going to get from speak idle to speak? You might think that we would need to make a transition from speak idle to speak now, so the animator would know how to go from each state to each other. But actually we don't need that, because as I said, we are going to use a programmer style and go from any state into any state. This is how it works. If speak is a trigger and it's set to true, and he's in speak idle, then this trigger is going to be called. He's going into speak, and the speak trigger is set to false. So once this trigger is called, the trigger is set to false and will not trigger again. And then he will stay in this state here. So let's look if the speak animation is actually looping. That's the case, which is fine. Let's look into the other animations if they are also looping. So speak and speak idle are looping, that's fine. Idle is loop, idling is a loop. The deaf animation is loop, that's not good. We don't want the deaf animation to loop every time. So we are going to disable the loop here. Now, we have set up the layers for the animations for the mouth. Now we can go into the base layer, which is going to control the character body. And now we have here the any state, which is going to control how we are going to get into each part. And we are also going to use a programmer scheme to set up our animation. So also since we are in 2D and we don't have any special animation that we have set up to transition into each other. We are going to set the transition time to 0. So we are going immediately from one state into the next state. And next thing that we need is we're going to need 3 triggers, one for idle, and then for the 2 different depth phases, depth 1 and depth 2. So we might have to rename depth 2 actually. I think it's hard coded to be always depth. I think in the human depth sequence, which is going to be triggered for splatter effects, it expects this animation to be named the trigger depth. But aside from that, we only need to set up our triggers here so that the transitions are set up correctly. And we're done. So the farmer is done. Let's set up the bandit. Bandit is going to start with this idle animation. No, we actually need a new animation for him. Going to be very easy. We don't want the bandit to start here at this point. Bandit is going to start at this point here. So let's set up a start position for him inside of this animations. Create a new clip. Pick the bandit. And name this start position. Bandit. Go to. And the only thing that this animation is supposed to do is we're going to copy the start position for a skill. Here in bandit position, take the keyframe and insert it inside of this animation. So let's play the animation. Yeah, that's the animation. Splendid. He's going to stand at this position now from the beginning and just wait for us to call some triggers. Now we see this animation here. This has automatically been dragged into the animator. So let's now make it the first state that we are going to enter if the game is starting. Set this to default state. And now this is our entry point. Now to trigger all the other animations that we want to display inside of the game, make a transition into each animation. Okay, and also just like in the farmer script, I've forgotten to set up the speak and speak idle animations inside of the new layer. Let's add the new layer. It's going to be the mouth layer. And create 2 new states. One is going to be speak idle, the other is going to be speak. Okay, speak idle will be our entry point because we want his mouth to start closed. And then when he's going to speak, we're going to call the speak animation. So let's set the transition time to 0 and add 2 triggers. And I think we're done. The next thing we have to check is the idle animation here. So we don't want the speak idle animation to loop. We want the speak animation to loop. Now we're going to look into each animation and decide if they should loop or not. Idle is going to loop. We go to position, we don't care if this loops. Kill animation should not loop. The death animation should not loop. And the attack animation is also not going to loop. Also, we have to look into the thumb again. I think his speak idle animation is still looping, yeah. So now this animation is also not looping. So what would happen if the speak idle animation would be looping? Then his mouth would always be closed, and we couldn't stop his mouth from being closed. And this wouldn't matter, but in the death animation we are going to specifically call the mouth animation, mouth layer, mouth sprite, that is going to specifically display some animations on his mouth when he's going to die. And we actually don't want to add this in the animation system as a new layer. We can just have this in the death animation. So what are we going to do next is we are going to make the triggers for all these animations that we have left. See. Kill. Walk. Idle. Attack and death. So now we have set up the bowing part. Let's get to the scene again. And I think one thing that I just remembered we have not used last time is we have not used the eye animations we have set up for his idle animation. Let's change that. Because the bandit actually has a blink animation. And if we make a blink animation, we actually want to use it, of course. Let's do this. We're going to record. Look at his character sprites and look at his eyes. And here you can see the blink animation. Going to start with his eyes open. And he's going to slowly blink. close his eyes. I think we are not to do this every second frame because it's low at the moment. Now see, he can also blink with his eyes, which is just a nice little detail. Okay. We're done with his animations now. Let's stop the preview and start making his dialogue. So the dialogue here, dialogue box, going to contain the text that will be played when we enter this area. So now let's start with the farmer. He's going to warn us that there's a specific group of people which are going to come for our bounty on our head. So we have a bounty on our head, and there's a lot of people who want to kill us from the beginning. So is he going to say? Like, I'm glad I found you. I'm glad I finally find you. So the next question, is he going to notice that we are a vampire? How is he going to react? So he has been sent by someone, either a character who will appear later, or just by some friends from your village, to warn us. So he knows that there's a bounty on our head, and we are supposed to be, we are said to be a vampire now, and then he will see us and see that we are really a vampire. Let's say. I've heard that you turned into a vampire. You have been turned. You have turned into a vampire. And he's on our side. So how can we display that he wants actually to help us? I want to help you. Plain and simple, but I think that it's a few words that do the trick. And we also don't want to say too much, because this is the start of the game. At the start of the game, the player might not have much patience, so we can't say too much. We have to keep it very short. So one sentence more. And then now, but first you must get into safety. Oh, too long. He wants to help us, and now he wants to warn us. I want to help you, but I also have to warn you. About, and then he's going to get killed already. Let's analyze. Get rid of 2 halves in 1 sentence. I heard that you have turned into a vampire. Structure, but I want to help you. I also have to warn you about. And I want to help you. But also if you... Let's try to say this. Hey, I'm glad to finally find you. I heard that you have turned into a vampire and I want to help you. But I also have to warn you about it. And then he's got killed. I think there needs to be a half in this first sentence. Glad to have finally found you. Oh, this... Glad to finally find you. Last sentence, it doesn't flow. make it like this. Let's get you to safety. There is a specific group. Okay, let's translate it. Translate. There is a group of angry. Okay, I think I can translate this into German now. Endlich habe ich dich gefunden. Gehört, dass du ein Vampir geworden bist. Und will dir helfen. Lass uns ersten. Lass uns schnell in Sicherheit gehen. Eine Gruppe ein Mob und dann getötet. Und der letzte Nebensatz ist etwas verändert, aber wir müssen hier etwas Text sparen. Wir können nicht zu viel Text haben. In Deutsch, in German, the sentences are always a little bit hard to translate. And sometimes I have to actually shorten some sentences and take something out, because German tends to be longer. But we can't have too much text in the dialogue box. Sometimes a little bit hard. So the next thing that is going to happen is there is a listener for this dialogue. Let's see what this does. This is going to trigger events. So when this dialogue is finished, and this is waiting for the dialogue to be turned off. As soon as the dialogue is going to be turned off, it's not active. And we can write a script for this, what is going to happen. So we want to have a target. And what do we want to happen then? We want the farmer to display dev animation phase 2. So let's get the animator and the farmer. And set the trigger for dev animation phase 2. Okay. Also, yeah, let's first go through other things. So, we're going to do next. Let's see, we have this trigger zone. Yes, but we also want to play the animation for the bandit to kill the farmer. Let's do this in the level 1 control. I think this is maybe the proper place for that. And this has been new old game object that we don't need anymore. Game objects. So we're going to add the following. Going to add the farmer, the game object, and the bandit. And we need to trigger our scene. We can trigger our scene when the dialogue is playing. So I think it's named dialogue 3. Let's rename this to farmer dialogue, so it's a little bit more clear what we are doing here. So what we want to do is, if the farmer dialogue is active here, this is going to change. This has changed. This down a bit. This is for another dialogue. This is going to trigger after we killed the first farmer. But we don't care about this though. We want to only specifically play our animations in the farmer dialogue. So when the farmer dialogue is playing, we're going to start a coroutine actually. So let's make a new coroutine, which is going to be named farmer kill. And make this uppercase, wrong in lowercase, the sharp convention. Okay, why do we need a coroutine? In the coroutine we can actually wait for seconds. So if you don't want to immediately play an animation point, we have to specify at which time we are going to play an animation. So this is especially true for the farmer death animation. The farmer death animation is not going to be played immediately. going to be played I think after 1.5 seconds. Let's specify this later. Let's just make the functions first so that we can play our animation. So here we are going to start this coroutine, which is going to have the information for our animation. Start the farmer kill. And this function, we are going to get the animation, the animator of the bandit. Bandit get component animator and sets the trigger for the kill. Look up how the animation is named. Really forgot it. Okay, then kill. So let's name this farmer kill. Be a little bit more specific. And being more specific also makes your code every time a little bit more readable. And let's maybe wait half a second. Let's look into the farmer kill animation. He's going to walk for 2 seconds and then he's going to kill. Okay. Now we can immediately play the animation farmer kill, wait 2 seconds, and then the farmer is going to play his death animation. Farmer. Going to play death 1. And death 2 is actually just death, I forgot that. Now we also want to play a splatter effect. So how are we going to play a splatter effect? First we need a reference to the effect that we want to display. Let's add a splatter effect. And then when the farmer is going to step, he's going to step 3 times. And each time he's going to stepping 3 times. I think it's or is it actually need to take a calculator right now? It's at 1/6 of each second, so it's 0.176 or something. Let's look it up. 0.16 period. So in the death animation, you need to wait 0.6 seconds. Then we are going to instantiate splatter effects. Oh, we're going to instantiate the splatter effect. And now we can specify the position. The position will be the farmer. We want to use the default with rotation. We don't want to do anything fancy. We're going to step 3 times and we are going to see 3 splatter effects. Then after that, he's going to wait for wait, I made a mistake here. Going to be this much time. Then we are going to wait for half second and 0.1 period 6 seconds, which is 0.66666 seconds. We could also try to get the keyframes out of this animation if we want to be really specific, but I think that would be a little bit hacky right now. And if we add more keyframes, we might grab the wrong keyframe, so this is not safe. Waiting for a specific time frame is also not safe. What do? I actually know a better way to do this, which is the problem that I see with this code here is could actually be that we miss the right keyframe for our splatter effect, because we are just going to assume that the death animation is always playing correctly and immediately. And if there's any lag in your, let's say your PC is slow or something goes wrong, then the splatter effect is going to be played at the wrong second, and it won't match the stepping animation. But there's a way around it, which is much better. You can actually, I forgot about that. You can actually just wait. So first let's change how much we wait. So how are you going to do this? We just add the splatter effect to the animation, and we won't have this problem. Now, we don't have to take care of the splatter effect if we do it in the animator. So we only have to specify that we want to wait. And then we are going to play the animation, the dialogue for the bandit. So let's wait a little bit longer than the animation actually is. Let's wait for 3.5 seconds. This is actually 3.75 seconds. This animation is 3.5 seconds long, and we are going to wait 250 milliseconds more. So if we have some lag or error, we are still going to not cause a problem. The player is not going to notice a quarter of a second. Oh, let's then specify that after the dialogue, we want to play the second phase of the dialogue, which is going to be the bandit dialogue. Do we have a dialogue reference? I think not. No, we don't have a dialogue reference. Set this up. So the dialogue reference is the dialogue manager, which is just needed to activate and deactivate dialogue. The dialogue controller is managing things like mouth shut, see which dialogue box is playing right now, and now we can give the dialogue box and the dialogue manager dialog box for the bandit. Okay, this is fine. So now we still have some errors in the script, and we need to clear this. We need to clear this. It might be a little bit boring now for some people who are watching, but it's just how coding works. And we're in a coding stream, so we need to code. So, actually, this is not bad, because this was actually programmed for when we killed a guard to play. We can just change it to the bandit. Let's change this boolean here to bandit dead. If the player kills the bandit, we are going to trigger an event. Going to be Nate. Bandit killed. Look up at what this coroutine does. It's it's just waiting for 1 second, and then play an evil laugh. Because when we kill the bandit, actually we are going to do exactly what the guy who turned us into one vampire wants us to do, and the drama is going to play out. Now we only need to fix these 2 lines of code. And I want first to know when we are going to call this function actually. There's tutorial done. I now remember, this is important later. When we first play the tutorial, the first zone, then the game will actually save that we played the tutorial, and this is going to enable us to play another scene when we are replaying the level later. So let's say we finished the game and we play level 1 again. Then we can, with this function, say the tutorial has been done 1 time. Don't do specific things. Like we could now change the dialogue, or say don't play the dialogue again. If the player is going to hear this dialogue every time, he's probably just going to skip it. So let's think for a moment. To play the game for the second time, would we want to skip the dialogue? I mean, we could just destroy the farmer actually, and the farmer game object, and have the bandit stand there from the start and not play the scene again. Would also destroy the trigger, so the scene would really not play. So for now, let's just comment this out. Let's first set up our scene and then think about this later. So make this into a comment. And now we should be able to compile. Nice. Now, what I said, we want to add the splatter effect inside of this game object. Now, first let's set up the splatter effects which are going to be played. I'm going to open the prefab of the bandit, because the bandit will have 3 splatter effects from the start, which are going to be played. Oh. Add new game objects. Oh no, actually we don't need to add game object. We can pick up the splatter effect. We also have we already have set up some splatter effects. Just have to pick them up. So I want to look up which kind of splatters do we have. This could fly. This could also fly. I think this might be even better. Heal effect. This one might be over the top. So let's use this one, which is called small variant. This actually specifically good for this case, because we don't want to have too much splatter. We play the same animation 3 times. So let's drag this in 3 times. We don't want this animation to play though. We also want to set their position. I think their position would be somewhere here. Look into the animation. Yeah. Disable the preview. Would be the splatter effect would be around this position. Now, at this point, we can play each splatter effect. Let's disable them at first. And each time he steps, we are going to enable one splatter effect. Look if we can play this. Maybe we don't see it. We will only be able to see this in the game. Okay. So we have to look. I think it will work now. But one thing I notice is if this is enabled, that effect will be played in front of the farmer. I don't think it should. It should be behind the farmer at this at this weight. So let's set up their position, the order of their layer. So they render behind the farmer. First, let's see the layers of the bandit. He's probably has the layers until 30. And I know in my head that the farmer has the layers 30 plus. So we can change the renderer, change the sorting to units and the order to 30. Now let's look what happens. Now the splitter effect is played behind the farmer, like he's been stacked in the back. Looks way more realistic. Okay. Yes. So can we play the scene? No. No, we can't yet because we haven't set up the second dialogue here. And what was this dialogue doing? Oh yeah, this dialogue here, this trigger here was actually playing the second phase of the death animation for the farmer, but I actually want to do this in the level control. So let's delete this listener here. Go to the level control again. Level 1 control. And make sure that the second phase of the farmer death is going to be played at this point. So the bandit going to play his idle animation at this point. Are we missing something? Probably. The farmer is probably going to speak longer than 2 seconds. And we have to match this data because we have not really recorded the voice lines yet. We don't know how long the voice lines will be. And then we will have to match them. So there's probably going to be a waiting period here at the start about it. But everything else is set up. And now we can just set up the dialogues and try to play our scene. First, I want to set up this dialogue. And here in this dialogue, it's pointing to the next dialogue, which should be played. But we are going to do this in the level control. So we are going to set this to none. Then we normally the dialog box, if it's finished, it's going to give us back our control, so we could control the character again. But we have, fortunately, an option: don't return user return. We're going to enable this. So thanks to this this check mark here, the player will not be able to move even when the dialogue is finished. And we can wait until the animation is finished and the level 1 control will then trigger the next dialogue. It's going to be this dialogue. So let's give the level 1 control the variables that it needs. As we see here, the farmer expects to have a reference to the farmer, the bandit, to the farmer dialogue, and the bandit dialogue. Now we have set up our variables. Now we can go for our last dialogue. So, after the bandit killed the farmer, Also, he has a name. Isn't point. Going to name him Farmer. What would be good if farmer name? Farmer name is F. Name it F, which is good in German and in English. So Google Farmer Felix. Felix would be a good name. Oh, Farmer. Oh, I have a good name. Farmer Frank. Okay, Farmer Frank. And German Farmer Frank. Oh. Oh, there's a voice in your head. Which is going to be played later. And we have our next dialogue, which is so this first we are going to have a dialogue for the bandit. So a good names with B. Bandit Benedict. Okay. So the bandit will, after he has killed the farmer, tell us that he has come for our bounty on our head and he wants to get rich. Nothing more. Oh. What that? You are mine now. Maybe add an evil laugh at the start. Muhahaha. Oh, ha ha ha. West will be voice acted. maybe add a line for his skill reaction. Because if he really stabs the farmer, it would be unrealistic if he would not say at least one line about it. Like, just hahaha, too late. You are mine now. Will get rich with bounty on your head. Now, there's one thing I'm thinking about, and there's also our first reward artifact here. And I'm thinking if I'm trying to come up with a good reference for the bandit and good motivation, inside of the first minutes for the bandit also still steals this artifact from us. But it also feels a little bit like an overload. Like if he would just say, I will get with the bounty on your head, and I will also take this artifact. And this will be a little bit hard for the player to grasp, why he's talking about an artifact, because the player might not be seeing this, or does not know yet what this artifact is. It is actually a very valuable thing, but the player doesn't know yet. So if the bandit references it, player might be confused. So let's just drop any reference to the artifact. There's still one dialogue which is going to play, and this can maybe say something about this artifact behind the bandit. So let's first translate the English text to German. Oh, haha. Zu spät. Jetzt gehörst du mir, Vampir. Mit deinem Kopfgeld werde ich reich werden. Plain and simple. This dialogue actually is going to play a next dialogue. And we are not going to have a new camera target. Oh, no, we will have a new camera target. The new camera target will be the bandit. This is dialogue. Also, the bandit will be the emotion target. So, speak and speak idle. Mouth closed, you speak. Then we will play our last dialogue, which is going to be a voice in your head. And this voice in your head is just basically the count which has turned you into a vampire, and he's telling you how you can use your abilities. Which is nice for just an introduction for our arch enemy. And also he's going to use you to tell you how you use your abilities in the tutorial zone. So you need. Let's change this a little bit. The bandit is blocking your path. That artifact behind him. If you want to survive, you need artifact. Use your bite. We have also already learned how to use our bite. Use your bite on the bandit to get through. The bandit is blocking your path to that artifact behind him. If you want to survive, you need the artifact. Use your bite on the bandit to get through. Let's translate. Blockiert deinen Weg zum Artefakt. Wenn du überleben willst, brauchst du dieses Artefakt. Nutze deinen Biss. Durchzukommen klingt ein bisschen komisch. Durchzukommen musst du deinen Biss benutzen. Bandit blockiert deinen Weg zum Artefakt hinter ihm. Wenn du überleben willst, brauchst du dieses Artefakt. Um durchzukommen, musst du deinen Biss benutzen. Genau. Bin mir aber nicht sicher, warum. Something sounds odd in German here. Mal gucken. Vielleicht, maybe I will change this when I actually speak these lines. Can always change the lines when I'm recording the voice lines. So we are through. Let's see if we forget something. This looks okay. And let's just play and see. Something will say it's not working. It won't work on the first try, but we'll figure it out. Let's just see what the debugger will tell us. So we set up everything for our animation here, and now I expect the program to crash immediately. Oh, let's see. And okay, we have a reference that has not been set up. Oh, okay. We have a material on the bandit and the farmer for the death animation that has not been set up properly. So, what is this line doing here? It specifically says if the sprite mode is set to gunner. And we are trying to find the sprite for the death animation. We need this also for the farmer and the bandit. So let's make this more generic. So let's rename this mode into bone animated. Bone animation. Bone animated. This is very, very scripted. And just rename the game object. The sprite render is on to dev sprite. So this will actually fix our first problem here. And we need to edit those two prefabs. We name this dev game object here to dev sprite. And here, the special animation mode, we are going to rename this to bone animated. Probably going to just copy and paste the exact letters to avoid some spelling errors. And we also need to do this for the gunner now. Because now if we will spawn the gunner now, he's not in this level. But he will be spawned later. Gunner won't work. So let's change him accordingly. Okay, now let's face the scene. And probably we are going to have to fix 2 more errors, I estimate. Let's see if the scene is playing. So it's playing, but the player is invisible for some reason. Why? Why are you invisible? I can see you here, but I can't see you in the game. Let's just continue testing with an invisible player.
I will not let you pass.
Okay, that was not supposed to happen. What was happening is we were focusing on a random point nowhere, but I know why. Because the dialogue was pointing to the wrong point. So we have given the dialogue as a target for the camera, the farmer game object. But the position of this game object, oh, it's actually here. So now the camera target is set to the middle of each person, the farmer and the bandit, instead of just the game object. This was still a very weird behavior by the camera. So let's change this. Also want there's sound attached to the dialogue, and it's playing too loud right now. Let's just turn down the value. It's very old dialogue that we have to use as a placeholder, which I don't like too much. But whatever.
I will not let you pass to this artifact.
Now let's see what the camera is doing. Where's the camera? Where are you? Camera is in this area, but its Z coordinate is set to -2000. That's a problem. That's the problem. Okay, the Z coordinate of the camera is set to an awkward position. What's the okay. The Z coordinate of the player is also set to a weird Z position. That's the problem. So we are in 2D, but we have we have a three-dimensional transform position. It's still kind of 3D in here, and we actually also use. I can show you here. I'll zoom to the player. So this might look like a 2D game, but I can actually move the sprite of the character by change the scene view. So the Z position of this wasn't set up properly. See if the other Z positions are okay. Yeah, this fixed something, and then I noticed that this mesh has not been reset. So this should fix all our problems, and let's play. And see we will have some new problems.
I will not let you pass through this artifact. We have organized search parties for you. Soon we will catch you, vampire.
You need the artifact. Use your blood magic.
Okay.
It will only paralyze him.
Okay, we don't have control. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, twisting.
You need the artifact. Use your blood. You need the artifact.
Let's first look into the console. No errors. Okay, we don't have an error. All three dialog boxes are still activated. Oh, I think I figured it out. That's easy. So what actually happened is we triggered our scene, but we have forgotten to deactivate that we triggered the scene already. So what I mean is, if this farmer dialog is active, it's going to indefinitely call this if clause. So we are calling the same coroutine every frame, which is going to just indefinitely call this coroutine, and everything else is messed up from this point. So we need to memorize that we have already called this dialog. So let's just make this the cheesy way and introduce a boolean for that. This boolean, which is going to be set to false by default. In this function, we are going to specifically ask if this is still false, and the first time we trigger this, we'll set it to true. Now this will only trigger one time.
I will not let you pass through this artifact. We have organized search parties for you. Soon we will catch you, vampire.
You need the artifact. Use your blood magic. Do not worry. It will only paralyze him.
Okay, now we have back our control. Yeah, so now we have back our control. Everything is exactly as I want it to be. The only thing that might be confusing now is that the dialogue that was playing is not correct. But that's nothing we have to worry about because we have recorded it. So let's see. Now we have this bandit in front of us. We will have the ability to bite at this point. I've not activated it, but it's going to be activated in another zone. It's coming before this zone, so this is all correct. Then I'm looking into, is this character actually Mama? What happened to him? Huh? So the only thing that is bothering me a little bit is that we don't see his death sprite. Look into the animator. He's actually playing his death. Okay. Take a look into his animation. Ooh. Okay, he's not finding his death sprite. I think because we renamed it. Yeah. Yeah, this is the case. We have to rename this. So here we have Farmer Death. Now Death sprite. And now it's set up correctly. So let's do the same thing for the bandit and the gunner, because we have changed the name of their game object. And now this is okay. And the gunner has the same problem. Good. Now we have corrected our changes. What is going to happen now is we will have the same scene. We are still in prefab mode. We want to add that. We still will go to see the scene. The bandit is coming a little bit too early. But that doesn't matter because we don't have the dialogue right now, and that means we can't match the dialogue timing to the animation. So that doesn't matter. And he's going to kill the farmer now, and the farmer is going to be laying dead on the floor.
I will not let you pass through this artifact. We have organized search parties for you. Soon we will catch you, vampire.
You need the artifact.
Okay. Except for the sounds are messed up because we haven't recorded yet. Everything is alright. The bandit actually seems like his feet are not touching the ground correctly here. Fix that. Because I don't want the UI to be in our way, but we can just disable the UI for a moment. And now we want to take a look at the bandit. Why are you not on the ground? That's because the ground is too early. A little bit. And this green line that is the ground. The collider. The bandit. I think we have to shorten the bandit box collider a little bit. so that his feet will actually be on the ground. Look into the main character. Yeah, if you look at the main character, the box collider is not touching the ground. If it would be exactly be at the height of his shoes. So let's fix this. First, we're going to take this box collider, make it a little bit smaller. Now his feet bone will touch the ground. Do the same thing for the bandit. A little bit smaller, a little bit higher though. Don't want the player to be able to jump over the bandit. So now comes our phase 2. So what do I mean with that? Now we have to set up that we can actually kill the bandit. The bandit has a script, and the script is empty now. And let me change my headphones because they're starting to hurt a little bit. Okay. Now, usually I just rotate my headphones a little bit when I'm streaming because after 3-4 hours these headphones are actually starting to hurt, and after another 4 hours these are also going to start to hurt. But that's not a big deal. Let's start scripting with the bandit. So bandit has his heads with a reference, and then he's nothing. So what do we want the bandit to do? We want him to have an attack animation. When he's standing here, we want him to be able to attack. We want also to wait for anything to happen before he has finished his dialogue. So let's start with the bandit and add him at public variable that we can set up to have a reference to the dialogue. Click object. We can actually use the dialog box here. And in the update function, we can start with an if clause. So we don't want to do anything. Start dialogue has not finished. So we only want to do anything if the start dialogue finished. And we don't want to be dead. If the character is dead, we don't want to do anything. He's not dead yet. So we have finished the dialogue and he's not dead. And then he's going to stand here. And this blue point here is a game object transform, which we need a reference to. Let's set this up. Private transform font sensor font check. And now I'm going to just copy and paste some code. What we want to do is, if the player comes close to the bandit, he's going to play step animation. And this is exactly here. This is exactly what we need. kinds of code. I will explain it. So we have an overlap circle. So we are going to draw a circle from the position the front check. We have a radius, a very small radius, and if the player is inside of this radius, we can do things. What we want to do if the player is in front of this front check is we want to start our attack animation. So since the attack animation is going to need time, we are going to introduce a new enumerator. So let's name this enumerator attack animation or attack. Just attack. And we need to wait inside of, we need to have a return value inside of this. So let's set up a random value now. Wait for 1 second. And when the player is in front of the bandit, we are going to start this coroutine. Now, the second thing that we want to memorize is when we start this coroutine, we don't want to actually check this again. Because if the player keeps standing in front of the bandit, we're going to trigger this this attack animation with each frame. So we're going to make the same mistake and trigger this the whole time. So we want to have a boolean. And we could also check for the coroutine, but let's just make it easy and introduce a boolean. Bool attacking. So don't want to trigger this again if we are already attacking. Wait for the attack animation to finish. So at the start of the attack, we want to set attacking to true. The end of the attack, we want to set attacking to false. The attack animation, the bandit is going to step forward. Then we are going to check if the player is still standing there. And then we want to deal our damage if the player is actually standing there. What we are going to do is we are going to have a reference to the player script. If we hit him, the player is still standing there. I think the attack time was 0.5 seconds. And we need a reference to the player now. Call the hit function. Let's look it up. Can just find the player game object from the start. Look for the player character. Have a variable for that. Okay, let's get this game object. We have a reference to the player script. So if the player is in front of the knife when we stepped, we want to hit the player. Player hit. We have a hit function, and the hit function. We need to look it up. What does it do? Oh, we can I have a better idea. Let's just copy the code out of the gunner. And then see what we need to set up. So here. This is out of the gunner. We want to apply our attack damage. We have a damage type. I think it's a melee swing. It's a melee step. Yeah, this is a melee step. And we want to push the player a little bit back. We want to tell the player script which position we are attacking from. And we want to give him a reference to our game object. Then we will need to have a hit sound attached. So if we are going to hit the player, we are going to play a sound. We haven't set it up yet. So two things that we need now is, first we have a public float for the push force. When we hit the player, then we want to have a new private variable, audio source, with a hit sound. The hit sound will be on the character. So let's set it up, set the variable up. For this we need to get our audio source, which will be on the character, have this hit sound. Oh, we actually have special game object applied to the character. So game object find. Find our sounds, and inside of these sounds we have a nice little game object just to have a better order with our audio sources. So what's missing? This is missing. Need to apply our push force. Good. So let's set up our variables. And Unity crashed. This is very unfortunate because I don't know when we saved the last time. Very unfortunate. So I would say I would go to the bathroom for a short moment, and then we will start again. Or I don't think that we lost any progress. I'm pretty sure because there's no and yeah, I have saved recently. Unity is displaying star symbol if you haven't saved. So I've saved it recently. But I will have to restart the project, so short break. Okay, set up the program and we are ready to go again. So, looks like nothing changed really. Let's just try out this scene one time and see if we have lost any progress, which I hopefully would like to not to see. Actually, we have lost progress. Damn it! What is this doing? Oh no! This is just asking for us to set up the bandit. So we have made changes in the script, and he is immediately asking us to set up our variables. So let's go into the bandit prefab. Here we have the bandit, and we have made some changes in the bandit control. First, we need to use a push force. See how this hit function works into the implementation. And this is going to be added directly into the velocity of the character. So the push force will actually be very strong. Let's not put a high value inside of this. I think something like 10 is enough. Maybe even lower. You will see. Then we are going to set up an audio source here inside of the sounds. And just pick a random sound. We want this to be in 3D. And we want to be able to hear this from some distance. Okay, everything else seems to be okay. Now let's find a good hit sound as a template. Yep, that should be enough. This is just a placeholder sound, so I don't really care now. And inside of the scene, the bandit wants to have a reference to the dialogue. Let's set it up. Because this is the dialogue that the bandit script is waiting for until it's going to start the regular AI behavior. Oh, let's play.
I will not let you pass through this artifact. We have organized search parties for you. Soon we will catch you, vampire!
Is something crashed? Out of the bandit? Okay, we have not set up this font check. My bad. We can do this inside of the, not the Explorer, inside of the script. So this font check variable has not been set up yet. And this is pretty easy. Transform.find. Named. Font attack. Let's rename this to check. Font attack check. Okay. Now this variable should check up from the start. I also have to look why the farmer disappeared at the start. I think it reset his animator. Look at this, yeah. Oh, let's reset this. So we actually did lose some progress. Very unfortunate. Also have to change this for the gunner again. Okay. Save. So we don't lose our progress again. And play.
I will not let you pass through this artifact. We have organized search parties for you. Soon we will catch you, vampire.
Okay, what should now happen if I go in front of the bandit? He should try to stab me. Okay. This is not working. Oh, I think what's happening is... Yeah, he's still seeing the farmer in front of him. Okay, but... we don't play the animation. I have forgotten. When we want to attack, we also want to play the animation. The trigger. Attack. What we also want to do, if we are finished with the attack, we want to go into the idle state again. Another thing that we can do is the characters are not moving their mouth when we play the dialogue. This is because we haven't set up the layer here. So the animation layer for the mouth animation is animation layer 1. And yeah, nothing more to say about that. Now their mouths should also move when they talk. And we have another problem. When the farmer dies, he still has his box collider. The box collider is why we can't go in front of the farmer bandit. So I wanted to go into to the bandit and actually attack him, but I couldn't because the farmer was still in the way. And when the farmer dies, going to lay on the ground, we don't need the box collider to be this big. Because we never can interact with this figure when he's alive. Only needs the box collider to be in his dead state. So let's set it up. The Y very small. Put it down here. Oh, this is when he's lying dead on the ground. This is going to be box collider. We have another problem, and that is we don't want we don't want him to block us. When we are now going to the bandit and his corpse is still on the ground, he's going to block us. So we are going to add a new layer for him. Not going to be an enemy. And his tag is going to be enemy, but not his layer. Let's add a new layer. I will explain what this does. Add some layers here. Yes, I can. Let's call this layer friendly. Okay, and set the hammer to be on the friendly layer. We only need this box collider to be on this layer. Also for the bandit, we need to set him up to be an enemy. Also this layer will be the enemy layer. So what we can do now is we can go into our, I think it's the project settings. Go into the physics. Now here we say see a big matrix up. And in this matrix we can define which layer is interacting with each layer. So if we set up friendly and turn off all these toggles, now all these check marks are going to disappear. It's not interacting with any layer now. That's not exactly what we want. We can now go through him. The enemy can also go through him, but the problem will be that he will fall through the ground. So we have this Bowden, this ground layer. We want to set this to true. Now he will stay on the ground. He will lie there, but there won't be any other interaction with him. So we can just go through him. Oh, let's try this out. And see what we can maybe improve after that. So first let's look if their mouths are moving now.
I will not let you pass through.
Nope.
We have organized third parties for you.
Okay,
Soon we will catch you, vampire.
The mouths were not moving, which is bad. Let's go here. But at least the attack animation is playing. See? And when we actually go away, we can dodge the animation. Now, one thing that we don't want is we don't want to be able to push the bandit around. Like if I now press to the right side, I can just push the bandit into this room here and push him around just as I like. And I don't want this. Everything else seems to be right. His push force is not enough. I think he's pushing me into the wrong direction. So what can we do about this? Let's give him his speed. Going to need his speed later. Give him his speed. And also set up a bool of facing right. Give him a function to look into the other direction. Going to be called flip. It's because I usually flip a lot of enemies. Let's just copy the code out of this character. Here's a flip check and flip method and put it inside of the bandit. So we have a lot of wet instances here, but this is alright. Actually, we don't need facing right. We have this in the enemy stats already. So, because we know that the character is going to be looking to the left when we start, we have to keep in mind to change this later. And here, if let's say if we don't look to the right, our speed is going to be negative. Let's rename this to stats. I think it's clear what this is. This will actually fix all the red errors here in the flip function. Now there's another flip check. This guy had a flip on cooldown. Then a reference to the player character, and it fixes immediately. Now let's think about, do we need a cooldown on its flip? No, because he's not going to turn around. You cannot get behind him the normal way. We will comment this out for now, because this flip check will be only for a very specific situation. So what we want to do for this character, we don't want him actually to be able to be pushed around. So how do we do this? First of all, want here in the enemy stats to make sure that he's facing to the left. Here in the enemy stats, there's a boolean facing right. Let's turn off right now. So he's not looking to the right. So he's looking to the left. Okay, we don't need to do anything about that. Then maybe open this asset. And I've forgotten what I wanted to do. Speed, he needs speed. Set this to 10. I wanted to disable the character from pushing him. So how do we do this? We freeze his X position. It's pretty easy. Why do we do this? If we freeze his X position, we cannot push him. We cannot push him if we freeze his X position. So I think this is pretty much it, what we need to do with him. Now I need to fix another thing, and that is the dialog here is asking us for an animation layer for the speak and idle function. This wasn't working. Why? I think I need to set this layout different. So let's do this for both characters and see if now they are set to adding each other and give them more weight. Maybe this will fix our problem. Save, so we don't lose our progress. And let's now see if we fix our mouth animation.
I will not let you pass through this artifact. We have organized search parties for you. Soon we will catch you, vampire.
So we have, if you looked at the character, he was now moving his mouth. This looked better. Ben was not using his mouth. It could be because the second sound is a little bit more silent. We will set this up after we record the dialogue. Let's see if we can push the bandit around. No, we can't push him now. So the player will now be stuck in this area unless he kills the bandit. But there's one catch. can get around this area, we use this underpass here. There's a respawn zone that I have to fix. But aside from that, everything seems fine. And his push force is not enough. So let's double the push force. We really want the player to be pushed a little bit back if he just stands there and lets himself get stabbed. And the third thing that we want to do is we want to be able to kill the bandit now. So let's copy a def function. Let's look into the gunner and look how he can die. There's a check def function. So the first function we are going to need. And this is going to be called each frame. I think it's called right at the start of the update function. Now we need the def function. This little function right here. And we need to modify this. So what is this doing? This is now checking if we are still playing any sounds or have any booleans enabled. Then it's going to set our triggers. So there's an animator variable here that we can actually set up. Now let's set up an animator. Named animator. And the animator is going to be a component on the character. And we now don't need to get the component each time, we can just call the animator variable that we have set up. We don't want to have the attacking boolean to be set to true. And we don't have any loop sounds that we need to stop right now. So that's it. That's our whole def function. Now we can die. That's nice. So what else do we need to be able to kill the bandit? We need to be able to bite. In the current setup, the player is not able to bite because he has to cross a certain tutorial zone first until this bite is enabled. This is so the player does not find the bite button before he's finding his jump button. So let's look into the character controller, into the input manager, and here we have a checkmark for disable bite. Disable this for this. Need to remember to turn this on again. But I cannot bite. Why? And I bite. Our input is blocked. Okay, I think this is hard-coded inside of the game controller. Need to adjust this later. Okay, I can bite. Okay. Okay, now let's bite the bandit. Okay, he's pushing us back. If we approach him, let's kill him. Okay, that was working just fine. But I've had the feeling that we were pushed forward backwardly. Let's look again if there's anything that's pushing us. Oh, not really. Ah, I know. In this enumerator, we are not checking after a half second if the bandit is dead. So let's add this. So let's only hit the player if we are not dead. And also for the second part of the animation, let's not do anything if we are dead. If we are dead, we don't do anything. We can also move this waiting part inside of the dead function. So if we are dead, nothing is going to happen. Okay, let's play again, and now everything should play nice and smoothly. Disable our input block.
I will not let you pass through this.
You need the artifact. You need.
Okay. Very well. Okay. Now we have set up that the bandit can actually die. The scene is complete. He still needs to record the sounds for the dialogue, but everything else is set up pretty much. What else could we need? Now, I said there's an underpass here. We could come around this whole area for the pacifistic route. So if we play the route where we can become a human again, we are going to get behind this area here. We can then just go around this. But the bandit actually, if we would then come back again, bandit have an ability to walk to this side and block this side, so that we cannot get to the artifact by using the underpath. Also, it would be realistic if it would be very weird if we would just be standing facing this side, even though we are coming from the direction. So first, to use the underpath, we're going to disable a trigger that is going to respawn us. The respawner right here, and the respawner is here. If anything should go wrong, we are going to get respawned. And put it a little bit more, a little bit deeper. So now we can actually use the underpass without getting respawned. So that's our first problem solved. Okay, we can use the underpass, and now we have to adjust the bandit. So the bandit is going to have 2 more sensors. Let's add more game objects here. Okay, we first need three more game objects. The first one will be the trigger zone for the underpass. So if you use the underpass, We only need two positions. Use the underpass. We will cross a certain zone. So let's call this underpass zone. And actually didn't do anything. Again, underpass zone. Makes this green. And this will have box collider, which is going to be our trigger. If we cross this trigger zone very high, so we need this to be big enough. Yes. If we trigger this zone, he will go to the other side, block us there. And then we will have to have another position. Which tells him where to go. So, the right position where he needs to block us. So here comes the hardest part. We have to find a name for it. Always the hardest part. White guarding position. And the zone layer, zone game object, will actually be in the zones layer, and the zones layer has the special ability to be not used for the player for jumps or something. That's why it's important to set every zone into the zone layer. Or the right guard position, I maybe want to have a different color for this. I use yellow. Okay. Now we have these two new game objects. In the scene, let's set up the guard position zone. So let's put it right here. If the player crosses this path, the guard is going to go to the right. Actually, let's be a little bit cheesy. Put this here. It's going to be a little bit easier. The right guard position is going to be here. So if we come from the right side, he's going to stand at this position. So we cannot choose to this artifact. This artifact here, we're going to set this up to be skill 0. Is the actual skill that we want to learn here. And have to keep in mind that we now don't have a skill choice 5. So let's copy this. Copy this. Put another one over here so we don't forget about it. This is to skill 0. Okay. We rename these two inside of the game object. And we're done. Now we can pick up our first attack here. And we have to test it out. Go inside of the bandit control. And set up his new 2 areas. So what we need is 2 transforms. Oh. Just position for his white guard position. One that we just set up. And the second thing is we need to set up the trigger zone. And also when he moves, we don't want the white guard position to change. That's easy. Just set the parent of the white guard position to null. So if we move this character, the position that we want to memorize is not moving with the character. If we don't do this, the white guard position will change according to his own position. And that wouldn't make any sense. We would put him on the white guard position. His white guard position would be set to a new position that we actually don't want. So one thing that we need to think about is how we trigger the underpass event. So we have this new trigger zone, this box collider, but I'm not sure if it is triggered in the bandit. I actually think it's not, because this underpass zone here is on another game object, and I think this zone is only triggering the under this game object, but not the bandit script. Hello, never mind. Thank you for following.
Never mind. Hi.
Hi, what's up? Thank you a lot. Are you just scrolling through some random channels, or are you looking for some code, or what are you into? Well, then I would say never mind. Okay, fine. I'm looking for coding. Oh, yeah, I'm coding right now. You might have guessed by me talking about code. Yeah. Do you code in Unity, or just do you code in general? Front-end developer at a local bank. Sounds like you're paid very well. So I guess normally you're going to do some UI stuff. General Java using Android Studio. I'm a junior. Ah, okay. So you're putting you and just scrolling to into some people coding. Generally, Android Studio. Yeah, I use this in computer science. Android Studio. And I think Android Studio is really nicely done. And we actually had to code some sensor finding. Use the sensors of a smartphone to there was some kind of roller coaster for small carts, and we had to program these sensors, the gyroscope in the smartphone, to get in which part of the roller coaster is the cart right now. So you're looking for some inspiration right now. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. If I could give you any tip, I would say always use a lot of functions. I'm working on mobile application. Well, if you are using Android Studio, I thought that you're using mobile application. So my tip would be, my number one tip is always use a lot of function. If you have more than 20 lines of code for anything, you can always think of making this a new function inside of your code. Or anytime you repeat your code twice, make a function out of it instead of repeating the same code twice. I mean, this is a basic advice, but maybe it helps. So where was I at? I was looking up. Oh, the box collider is triggering the main game object. So for this, I'm using, for tool number one, Google. And I googled up the box collider function. Thank you. Thanks for your advice. I appreciate it. You're appreciated. So we have a box collider. It is set to trigger. What is it doing? So unfortunately, we have in this beautiful API of Unity. Unity has a very good API. Something that is a little bit unspecific. I wanted to know if this is called on the game object, it is on, or if this could also be called on the parent class, but it doesn't say anything about it. So I assume it's only on the child object. Yes, you can get my LinkedIn profile. I think it's just John Schnelly. But I don't use LinkedIn much right now. Actually, I already set up my information there, and then I was too annoyed by social media to actually do anything with my LinkedIn profile. Oh, don't be sad. I probably will set it up later. I was just not into it right now. Oh, I have a profile, but yeah, don't do much with it. So, okay, where was I? I was having a trigger event. So this is not. I cannot catch when the trigger is called from this script. I will not detect it because it's not on the game object. So I need a new script for this. So let's set it up. And maybe restructure it. So I don't actually want to make a new script in the bandit. Might just want to copy this underpass zone and put it into the trigger zones. You're not sad. That's nice to hear. Just was reading this smile. And then comes my interpretation, which is of course the programmer interpretation. And programmers are naturally bad at reading emotions, like everybody knows. They're only good at logic. So I assumed, of course, the wrong emotion. So we need to trigger an event if we pass this zone. And to trigger this, we need a script on this game object. So let's find where we have our level 1 control. And put a new script into the same folder, which is going to be named underpass trigger. Now we can just add the script to the I have a free space here. The class name. Need to remove this. And it removed it automatically. Now I can add this trigger. Okay. Now we have this underpass trigger in this game object, but it's not doing anything. So how do we catch that we want to trigger anything in Unity? Quite easy. Actually, inside of this API, on trigger enter. So let's call this on trigger enter. Sorry. Private void. Trigger enter. Recognize it. Come on. And let the text editor do some stuff. The IDE. So we don't have to write everything. So the first thing is when we enter this trigger, we want to immediately destroy this game object. So after the player has passed the zone, we're going to destroy the zone because we don't want to trigger this again. And we will need to have a reference to the bandit. So let's have a public variable for that. Public only need a reference to this script bandit. And the only thing we want to do is to call function inside of the bandit. I'm going to make a new function here. We are going to call and we're going to name this move to right guard position. Very descriptive name, but descriptive names are really better. Now we want, if this trigger is called, we want to call this function. And we are finished with the trigger event. Nearly a ways to even write such a script. Have a class for that, but I don't think there's a better way. So let's stick with this. So move to the right guard position. What do we want? We want to flip the character. We have a flip function so that he's looking to the right position. And the second thing that we want to do is we want to move the character to the right. And we're done. That's everything we want to do. And let's check it out. Give this trigger zone now the reference to the bandit. And play our scene. We have a null exception. Okay. He has not found this position. I guess it's a typo. So let's just copy the name and insert it inside of this, and we see right guard position, right guarding position. Yes, of course he's not finding it if we check for the wrong name. We could also set up a public variable where we just drag in the game object, but sometimes it's annoying to have everything public. Because you will then enter a point where everything is public and it also looks messy.
I will not let you pass through this artifact. We have organized search parties for you. Soon we will catch you, vampire.
So there's a lot of placeholders playing there. Cannot fix this now. This will be done when we record our voice lines. So now let's see if the bandit will attack us. Yeah, he's pushing us back also a little bit. Move to the left. And use the underpass. Now when we pass this point, the bandit should actually be at the right side. And he isn't. Interesting. What happened? What happened? Let's look into the trigger zone. First, the Z coordinate is weird. And let's look into the other zones. The other zones are triggering. So we know that this zone works, and we have to find out why this zone doesn't. Why does this zone not trigger? or it maybe does trigger, but because we have set the no, the bandit should at least flip. So I don't know why this is not happening. Let's just debug. Let's call the debugger and log. We could also use the IDE to set up what is it called? An enter point for the debugger. But this is specifically only useful if we have some parameters that we want to look up. And this is really useful, much better than debugging things, much faster. But right now we just want to see this is called at all, so we wouldn't have much benefit from that. Maybe that's what happens. This is triggered immediately because there is a ground, and the ground is maybe triggering this. So first we want to check. First we want to have two checks. First is if the bandit is alive. Now, if the bandit is even there, if the bandit is killed and we trigger the zone, this will actually cause an error. So let's only trigger the bandit if the bandit is not null. Second check that we want to make is the guy who is triggering this actually the player? Let's look for the name of the object that is triggering this. I actually don't want to use the name because the name is old, and maybe tag. I think we have player tag. Tag for the player, and yeah, of course since this is a string comparison, you can use you should always use equals, or in this instance we have a compare tag function which will compare the tag of the other game object. We want to have two debugs, one if the on trigger enter is triggered, and then we want to have another debug if it detects if it's actually the player triggering this zone. Okay, let's go. And if this is working, then we are pretty much finished for today. We only have to find a new position for the old skill that was there. Skill 5 needs to have a new position, but that's it. So, okay, we passed through this position, and this underpass zone trigger did not trigger. Now I'm going to look into this trigger here and look into the script. So it's on trigger enter 2D. Yeah. This is not 2D. Yeah, that's a problem. That makes sense. So on trigger enter 2D. Because we are using... Oh. What did I do wrong? Collider 2D other. Okay. And now it will trigger. So as we can see, the bandit is now on his right side. And let's see if his attack is still working. Yep, everything is working fine. Let's kill him. Enable our attacks. Okay, that's working.
This is it.
Okay, the next scene is not something that we will be working on today. Oh, let's check our to-do list. So, we have changed the artifact guard into a bandit, and the bandit has every function that he needs, and beat this. Bandit dialogue is set up. We have created a farmer, he's getting killed by the bandit. Then we have a voice in your head that tells us to kill the bandit. We have changed the artifact to skill 0, and now we have to add the old artifact to another area. And then we are finished. So let's do our last task and then we will be finished for today. With a very good feeling actually. So what we need to do now, we have this skill here. And this skill is giving us a healing function. And we need a new area for this skill. So let's look into the level and look for an area where we could put this. Now, the first area I see where this would make sense is this area. It's an area where the player can jump to. And it's a little bit hard to reach actually, because you need to push these crates to the left side. And then you will be able to jump over here. Not every player is going to find this. So I don't think this is a good position. Because it's not guaranteed that the player can get there. Let's search for other positions. One position that the player is guaranteed to find. Because it's level 1. And I want... in level 1, you want to have things still be easy. Okay, there's nothing here. Nothing here. We could add an area here. Like let the player see that the artifact is here, but have a little jump challenge to get there. Or a small puzzle. The artifact should be this height. Let's just put it there, let it stay there, and then draw some tiles around it. Go to the ground layer. We have some good presets. Yes, we have. Let's just steal some tiles to be faster. Now the player can see this, but he can immediately jump on top of it. We don't want the player to have it that easy. So we might want to add a little challenge. What we can do is maybe add some walls. I have an idea, like let's use this instead, because this has a better interaction with walls. So these tiles, we can now set up some walls to envelop the artifact. Lot of Now we have created an area that the player can see, but you can't reach this area yet. Of course, we are going to enable the player to reach it with this ceiling. And now just add some platforms. We are going to use these ones and have the player jump up there. Okay, and that's fine. And the player will see this. He will jump 1, 2, 3, and then be able to pick these this artifact. We can make this a little bit more challenging. I have an idea. Instead of having just to borrowing platforms there, the player is going to have to push a crate. So let's extend this area. At a flat area. And player now has to go through a small little whittle. Let's extend this. Now first let's set this up. So the whittle that he's is supposed to do is I will put in a crate there. You will have to push this crate just to some interaction with the environment. Okay, so the tiles are set up. Let's copy a crate and put it right here. It's not fitting. Okay, let's can just scale it down a little bit. Whoops. Put this to rescale every diameter. I think this will maybe block at this point. Now when the player reaches this position, he will need a small platform to jump on. Let's add that. Okay, and now we can test this out. So let's look if the collider has regenerated. Nice, it has. Put the player into this position. So we are going to pick the player. Put him into this position. Look that the ZR coordinate is set to 0. And let's, just to test, disable all these enemies. Because we'll get a little bit annoying if they run around and interrupt our testing. So let's go. So the first thing that we want to make sure is that the player is going to see the artifact from this position. Okay, so we are running around here and we are going to see the artifact. We are able to see it. We could put it up even 2 tiles more. So next thing, I'm not able to jump over this. I can push this crate. Now I can reach the position. Okay, that's a very simple, easy will that we have there. Yeah, pretty much finished with this. I said, like, maybe put this a little bit more into the sky. Like, say, one tile. Well, let's try two. Try two tiles. Grab the artifact. Put it up here. And also put the crate into this position. Now the player has a little bit more space to maneuver when the enemies are going to chase him down. Can still reach this position though. Going to have to crouch and then get to this. Okay. So I would say it's pretty much finished. And if we are there, let's check if we can jump into this area from this position. We can actually leave this space open. So if we have jumped down there, we have to get out. I've thought of that. And let's edit this here so that we actually can get out of this position. Okay. So if I come from here, can't jump up, can't reach it. Okay, if I come from this position, I can reach it. Grab the artifact, grab the skill, and I'm done. Okay. Good. Now, this is much finished for today. So, this last task of putting the alt artifact into the new position. I'm going to put the player character, back into his starting position, which is intended. And he's going to start at this area, going to wake up there. Okay. Check his Z position again. And put the farmer and the bandit into the enemy tab. So we have a nice order. We've sorted everything out. The farmer and the bandit are now here in this position. They have their new animation, and the whole scene is set up. So the only thing that is missing, so we can finish this work, is we have to record the new dialogue. But we are not going to do this now, especially at here in Germany it's 1 AM and 38 minutes, and this is not a good time to record dialogue. So I don't know when I'm going to record this. I think tomorrow I will have to work until 8 PM. So this will also be too late. I might do it on Thursday. So if you want to see that, and I will actually see this, show it, how I will record it. And it might be a little bit embarrassing at first, but we'll get over that. So if you want to see that, tune in on Thursday. And aside from that, tomorrow I will maybe look into, let's look into our to-do list. We will do tomorrow. So tomorrow we are going to set up to change one attack into an explosion. So this is mostly FX setup. So we're going to edit an attack, and this will be actually a very easy task, even if it sounds very hard compared to what we are going to do now, what we did today. This is really easy. So, see you around, I hope, and I'm going to bed. Have a nice day, or have a nice evening, wherever you are right now, and I hope you enjoyed this stream. Goodbye.
Caesar TV. Good night.